points I want you guys to be mindful of, right? A, if you're doing this, do this outside so that you're not creating a ton of dust everywhere and other people are breathing it. That's super important. I am going to do this right here just for example's sake, you know what I mean, demonstration's sake. But you can see, like, this is a part of the process that I do for every single piece. Like, A, when I dry things upside down, a lot of the times I have a tendency to flatten out the rim a bit, which I don't love. So one of the very first things I'll do is come in and just kind of re-round over any flatness that happens there. The big thing you're looking for is when you're throwing or when you're trimming, a lot of times you leave little goobers and they end up messing you up more as you try to get rid of them, as opposed to just letting the pot get drier and dealing with them later. So like you can see in my foot here, I've got a bunch of little, like, I don't know, spurs. I don't know how to.
Goobers.
Like, goobers, right? Yeah, that's the technical term for them. So what I do is I wait till it's bone dry, and then I'll come in and just sort of scrape those away with one of these green scrubbies, right? These Scotch-Brite pads. And then I'll also sort of go over any point on my pot that might be a teensy bit sharp. I'll hit with one of these too, just so when it comes out of the bisque firing, it's not crazy sharp. It's also just another stage for you to do some like quality control. So like right now I've got these like 3 weird little bumps here. So I'm gonna come in and handle those right now too. So that's a bowl, right? One thing you really got to be mindful of is when you're doing mugs. And so I might pass this around before I actually deal with it, but it's kind of hard to tell. There's little cracks right where my handle points attach, right? What that means is that even though I dried them sort of wrapped up for 24 hours and then I slow dried them under cloth, they still, the handle and the pot dried at a slightly different rate. And that's why it sort of cracked away just a smidge. It's still on there, right? But I just want to get rid of that crack for posterity's sake, right? So what I do, and you can do this with any sort of sharp tool, I have a brush that I have sanded into a point. And what I do for those points that it's kind of cracked, can you guys see that? I don't love that. It's not the end of the world. That's not going to crack off, right? It'll probably end up being filled with glaze. But if I'm not going to glaze that part, I do want to make sure that that's a little stronger. So what I do is I take this point of my sharpened paintbrush, which you can do this again with any tool that's kind of sharp, and I kind of just compress that crack away by basically just drawing into that corner where that crack is.
Now, is that creating like little dust particles, or is it wet enough?
It's kind of like no, it's not wet enough that I'm smoothing it. A lot of what I'm doing is kind of just like compressing the stuff that I scrape away into that area. And while that doesn't like technically fix the crack, it looks like it fixes the crack.
Sure.
So what's the difference? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like technically it's still there, it's just hidden. But I find, because a lot of my work I leave unglazed, and that's kind of tricky for mugs if you have a bunch of cracks showing and stuff. I just really compress that. A lot of times I do this, like one round of this right when I attach a handle to, or like I'll let it get a little firm, and then I'll sort of compress that to make sure this doesn't happen. But if you have careful enough drying, you usually don't have this happen. Like this mug and my other mug, like came out fine. I think it was this clay. This clay was a little bit more forgiving. It's a tiny little thing that like not a lot of people wouldn't notice, but I think it really elevates the pot.
I guess I don't understand the concept of compressing because it's dry. Are you actually pushing some of the?
No, I'm sort of just. You want to come like right over my shoulders so you can see what's happening?
Right over your shoulder.
Okay, what I'm doing
Scraping it off.
is I'm sort of scraping
To fill in
to fill in, right? And so all I'm doing is basically just tracing along that point where both of those points
So it was a
meet.
little goobery to begin with?
No, it had cracks.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You're
So like
actually
if
taking material away
yes,
to make it smooth.
but I'm
Gotcha.
like that as I'm scraping that material, it's sort of compressing into
Got
that
it, okay.
cracked area.
Yeah,
Does that make
okay,
sense?
yes.
And so I do that around both sides
Oh, okay.
of both handle attachments. Just so it like looks consistent, right? Because now I have like sort of a groove around each thing. I a lot of times do this to every mug that I do, just to ensure I have a really clean seam now, right? And then I'll go through and be like, oh, I've got some like weird goobers on my rim from when it sat upside down. So I'll come through, kind of sand those. Same thing with that like inside corner of my drinking edge. A lot of times when I do it, it's a little sharp. So I'm just gonna make that a little less sharp.
It's pretty amazing what that scrubby can do.
Oh yeah, come down my side, see if there's any weird, like I've got a weird little goober here. Make sure that doesn't See to the final thing, I've got some goobers from where I trimmed. Come in and clean those up, soften that a little bit.
Got some goobers hanging out of your nose.
Yeah, right? A lot of times too, if my rim is uneven, what I'll do is I'll take one of these wide ones like this, and I'll just run it like this a couple times. And that has a tendency to either flatten it out completely, or wherever there is undulation, make it sort of a longer, smoother undulation, so it's not bouncy like this, because this looks much better on a finished pot, I think. And also it softens it quite a bit.
So
That's
you
pretty
use
much that.
A fine grade, like a fine grade sandpaper?
If you were going to use sandpaper, I would do it after it's been bisqued. So you can do this whole process after something's been bisqued. I don't like doing that because you create so much dust, and then you have to clean all that dust off, and then you have to glaze. That I think this is easier, because that way when something comes out of bisque, it's like a quick wipe down straight into glaze. You know what I mean? Just based on the way that I work, I like doing that the best. And then this is also the time I usually wait till my pots are bone dry to sign them. But you can sort of do this at a wetter stage.
I thought you had to sign them when they were still wet.
It's up to you, right? It depends on your tooling. So I have this this tungsten carbide bit. What is it called? Scribe. It's a scribe tool, and this works really great at carving through clay.
Oh, wow, boy, does it ever.
Do we have tools like that?
No, you can buy them if you want, though.
Is it a clay tool or another kind
No,
of tool?
it's just a scribe tool. It's like used for a bunch of kinds of.
And a key for your signature?
Yeah, it's just real quick. I just like doing this at bone dry because it's a little bit easier for
What if
me.
you have like a stamp? I see the stamps people use.
Yeah, you can use stamps if you want. I don't like stamps because then I have to address the stamp when something's leather hard. You know what I mean? And I hate having to catch things right at the perfect time to have to stamp them. So I always do everything, most of my stuff, at bone dry, so I can kind of just let it dry and come back on my terms when I want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tried to stamp something once and the bottom came.
It's tricky. So stamping is tricky. If you don't have good pressure there, if your pot's too soft, you'll just put a big dent in it, right? If your pot's too hard, a lot of times you can push straight through. So you have to sort of make a jig or something, or you have to come in here with your finger on the inside, but then you can warp your lip. It's more trouble than it's worth,
Yeah.
in my opinion, unless I was going to do it in the handle or something while it was wet. So yeah, my thoughts on that. But
That's like the perfect coffee mug.
it's not bad.
That's very nice.
It's not bad. It'll shrink a little bit, but I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of cold work stage.